was very lucky. I was at college in Manchester, and I auditioned for the pub shows. They had two companies, a theatre company and one that went around the pubs and schools and things called Van Load. And so I auditioned. They needed somebody in the summer, so I auditioned and got in. Yeah. Well, it was just perfect for me. I was very lucky to be in a place that was so perfect for me. It was all, what impersonations can you do? You could write yourself a bit of something in the pubs, and so I did Shirley Bassey with anything I could do. I absolutely loved all these dockers, and went and got myself a wig from Woolworths and a dress with holes in it, and it was really, and and we drank 6 pints of Guinness a night when we would have, God help us, couldn't have do that.
It doesn't really, like people, our sort of age group, were the people before us were all talking about the death of rep, whereas what we came up through was touring theatre and education, and that's gone now as well, hasn't it?
I know.
Community touring theatre. Willie Russell, did Willie Russell direct Educating Rita on stage?
No, he didn't. But what was so fortunate for me was that Willie Russell and Alan Bleasdale were both were writers in residence at the Everyman, where I started.
You were a muse, love. You were a muse.
I was a muse for both of them. And Willie didn't. He wrote it. He'd written this musical called John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert, which was a huge hit in the West End and went to Broadway and everything. So the RSC said to him, write us something. So they were expecting something like that, a massive musical with loads of people for the RSC company, the Royal Shakespeare Company. So he wrote this two-hander about this hairdresser who's, wanted to go to university and become middle class. And they just put it on a shelf for ages. They didn't want to cast it from the company. And they left it. And in the end, they said, "Oh, Willie, well, you find somebody and you do it. You can do it here at the Donmore." And so Mike Ockrent directed it, who sadly died a few years back. But the two of them, when Willie was there, all the time. We were rewriting it the whole time we were rehearsing it. We had about 19 endings, this, that and the other. So he didn't direct it, but he was very much hands-on, as they say.
And then Lewis Gilbert directed the film.
Lewis.
I wanted to ask you about him.
He's gorgeous, Lewis. His wife, Hilda, would go and watch plays, and she'd say, "Lewis, come and look at this." And Lewis, so that's what happened. He came to see, and then he rang up and said, "Darling, I've seen you in that play and we're going to make a film, darling. I don't know whether everything was darling every 2 minutes. I don't know whether we can have you because we haven't got any money yet. But I want you to know I would like you to do it." And I said, "Oh, God, I couldn't believe it. I thought nothing would ever happen." And then he went off. Yeah. He said, "I'm going to America to get some money." So then he came back and he said they were talking about Dolly Parton. And I thought, well, exactly. I mean, we could all think of two reasons why she wouldn't have been right. But so Dolly Parton and Paul Newman they were talking about, the Americans wanted. It's always the same, isn't it? Anyway, but in the end, he rang up and said, "We've got Michael. We don't need a star for your part. You've got the part." It was so sweet. So that was it. And his directing was like, "No, faster, darling, faster." It was all that.
That's the best sort of directing.
It
faster,
is funnier,
slower,
not
louder.
funny, darling. Yes.
Funnier.
Too big, darling, too big. You're not in the Albert Hall. Smaller. This is film.